Interesting turn right at the end here before the voting begins in the Iowa Caucus on Tuesday. It is that almost all the top candidates have made comments on race. And you're going to be shocked to find out that on the GOP side, those comments are not in favor of minorities. It's really weird, I know. First, Mitt Romney starts us off nice and easy by talking about the DREAM Act, which of course would give the kids of undocumented immigrants an opportunity at either military service or education. Apparently, Romney's definitely against them getting an education. Let's watch.
The question is, if I were elected and Congress were to pass the DREAM Act, would I veto it? And the answer is yes. I'm delighted with the idea that people who come to this country and wish to serve in the military can be given a path to become permanent residents of this country. Those who serve in our military and fulfill those requirements, I respect and acknowledge that path. For those that come here illegally, the idea of giving them in-state tuition credits or other special benefits I find to be contrary to the idea of a nation of laws.
All right, well, so apparently not a lot of Latino Republican voters in Iowa. So he's thinking, oh, I'm gonna hit him hard right now, because apparently he thinks those voters in Iowa on the Republican side are like, hey, you hit the Latinos, we're on your side. Again, these are kids who got really great grades, qualify for an education, have been here almost their whole lives, and apparently you get rewarded in Iowa if you go after those guys, right? Now, that's Romney on Latinos. Now let's turn to Ron Paul, because everybody's got to go on this issue. Now, he got a lot of heat for the newsletters from the other day, but he has said all along that he is not in favor of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. In fact, in 2004, when everybody in Congress voted to say, hey, wasn't it a great thing that we passed that, he was the only no vote, saying no, it was not a great thing. And when asked about it, he said the Civil Rights Act undermined the concept of liberty, and that it destroyed the principle of private property and private choices. So, for example, if you've got private property and you say no blacks allowed, or you say, or they need to go to the back, or they can't drink from the same water fountain, well, that's your private choice, and that's your private property. You can do whatever you want to any race or any person that you want, apparently. And if you're a giant corporation and you do that, like if, let's say, Walmart said, hey, you know what, black people have to enter from the back and use separate bathrooms because we don't like them, well, Ron Paul would say, well, that's their private corporation there. That's their private choices. That's totally fine. He might not agree with Walmart's choice, but he thinks it's perfectly permissible that they be allowed to make that choice. He further clarifies. If you try to improve relationships by forcing and telling people what they can't do, and you ignore and undermine the principles of liberty, then the government can come into our bedrooms. Okay, how about we stop them before they come into the bedrooms? Okay, now look, unlike some of the other candidates, I consistently have said that Ron Paul, even on the Civil Rights Act issue, I think is acting out of principle. I think he genuinely does have these beliefs. My problem with him is that his libertarian beliefs are so absolutist that he thinks basically that we should almost have anarchy. There's no laws or rules mitigating anything. And I don't live in that black and white world. I live in a world where it sometimes makes sense for the government to do some things, and whether it's providing a pension through Social Security that we all paid into, whether it's providing a police department, or whether it's saying, hey, you know what? You can't discriminate against certain Americans, okay? Protecting minority rights, which, by the way, is one of the foundations of our Constitution, right? So we have a disagreement on that, but it's interesting that he decided to double down on that right before the voting begins. So now we've had Romney and Ron Paul making interesting racial remarks, and then finally we come back to Santorum for the most interesting remark. When talking about welfare, he said, quote, I don't want to make black people's lives better by giving them somebody else's money. I want to give them the opportunity to go out and earn the money and provide for themselves and their families. But wait a minute, nobody asked you about black people. So he assumes, well, if you're getting welfare, if you're getting a government handout, of course it's black people. And so I'm tired of giving black people money. Now, of course, who did we give all the money to? Was it black folks? Well, I suppose there might have been a couple of banking executives. I don't remember too many, but I think there were one or two. But you remember the banks got $7.7 trillion from the Fed. I don't hear Rick Santorum saying, you know what, I don't want to make the bankers better by just giving them the money. I want to give the bankers an ability to bank on their own without the money. No. Bankers is fine. When you talk about people taking government money, forget the trillions of dollars we gave to the banks. Let's talk about black people, because black people are always taking your money. Interesting that right before the voting begins, all the top candidates on the Republican side have a surge of fascinating racial comments that are not necessarily in favor of minorities. A weird coincidence, don't you think?